you're watching this video, chances are you want to know how to replace your liftgate lift support on your 2003 to 2009, aka 4th gen Toyota 4Runner. And lucky for you, we'll be doing just that. Quick heads up, when you're ordering new ones to replace with, make sure you get the right ones because they're not universal necessarily. This is the bottom part, this is the shaft end right here, and this is the type of connection. And on the top, you have one that's slightly different from your hood struts or hood liftgate. This bracket is attached to the piston. So for example, this is the new one, this is the old one. This is how it comes, just like that. It's the bottom end, top end. And this is the hardware it comes with. This is for the bottom end. The top end, you have to reuse the bolts, these, but I just got new stainless steel ones, so I'll be using those. Alright, so tools you're going to need, not that many. You're going to need a 12mm socket and wrench, 13mm socket or wrench. I have a ratcheting wrench, pair of pliers, stainless steel brush, wouldn't hurt to have. If using an impact wrench just to help break the bolts free, swivel socket wouldn't hurt, and rust penetrant spray, definitely recommend that. And of course, any new hardware and your new liftgate support struts, whatever you want to call them. That's it. So first up, once the hood is opened, I would either find a human to hold it open while you work on it, or get a 2x3, which I have, and I have it propping up the trunk to keep it open, and I have a towel on top so it doesn't scratch it. It's about as high as it could go. Don't want to force it any more than it could. And once that's in, you're ready to work on it. First thing we want to do, take some rust penetrant and just spray it in here. Try to get it soaked a little bit. Don't need to go crazy. Same thing at the top. Alright, so once it's been sitting for a little bit, I'm going to get either a 12mm socket or a 12mm wrench to loosen these. Alright, so those are loosened, those broke free. Now I'm going to take a 12mm open end wrench and just break this free. Another YouTuber showed how to do this a different way. They used a blowtorch to heat up the area, but I'm not a fan of that because the paint's over here, and if it isn't breaking free with the wrench, you can either cut this off somehow with a grinder or sawzall and just use a socket and take it out, or you could just use a pry bar and just pry this piston off, the shaft off, and use a socket on it. The other side worked pretty well, just using a typical wrench. Spoke too soon. Although before I take that out, I'm probably going to take out the top part completely first. If you're reusing these bolts, you should either put them in rust remover, use a stainless steel brush on them, whatever you want. But I'm not. I have more room to work with. Well, that's it. So this is the new one I'm going to put on, and this is the old one I just took off. Compare and make sure they're the same size, same base, almost identical. And the old one has this washer with the rubber seal in the middle. I'm going to reuse that because the new one doesn't come with that. The new one only comes with this. So this is the washer with a rubber insert in the middle. Keep a seal from the water. So I'm just going to put that on the new one. So now would definitely be a good time to clean up the area if you want to. So I'm going to take my washer with the rubber gasket in the middle, my new hardware, put it on, thread it in, and this is where your 13mm socket comes in handy. Okay, bottomed out, so now just a little tighter. It's on there. So again, just so you can see, this is what I'll be using, lift support. Model number 6107. On the website it says 6107. And yes, the left and right side is the same model number. For the OEM version, the strut will say a right and a left, but the newer ones, the aftermarket ones, this one specifically, is the same for both sides. So if it doesn't line up, I'll show you how to adjust that. But before I do, so again, on the new ones, they come with a pin in here. Kind of wraps around, goes through a hole in here. And if you see the reflection, it keeps the socket from, right now, from going in, but when the socket's on there, the ball socket, it keeps it from just popping right out. So to temporarily remove it, because we have to put it back on, you're just gonna pull it this way. It slides off. There we go. So it was just, all it does is that it gets pushed in here. So again, we just push it out, rotates, and then we just pull out of the hole. We're gonna put that back in though, so just make sure it's tight. All right, so we're just gonna be snapping this bottom piece on. Should go on pretty easily. That's it. And we're gonna put this pin back in there. So the pin, there's a hole in the top and the bottom. The straight piece goes straight down, and then it locks around. So when you put the pin in the hole vertically, just make sure that it comes out the other end. Once you know it's came out through the other end, you're just gonna slide it around and it clicks in place, and that's all there is. And now it won't come off. Bottom part is in. So right now, it may not necessarily line up. So what you're gonna do is, once the bottom part is in, you're gonna rotate it clockwise until it lines up. And then you could just screw it in or bolt it in. I got my new stainless steel bolts, and if you're curious, these are 8mm bolts, 20mm length with a pitch of 1.25. Same as the OEM, but OEM are not stainless. So of course you just want to hand thread it in first. Just a few threads by hand should be decent, should be adequate. So now I'm going to use a 13 millimeter and just tighten them up. And if you feel resistance, you may be cross-threading it. So it started to get tight, so I just left it. It's just quicker. So now that they're both in, I'm going to tighten them up. No torque specs, so just hand tight, just enough. That's it. These did come with like a foam gasket. I tried putting them on the back of this for the other side. I just didn't like how it felt, so I just left it off. I mean, the OEM ones didn't have it, so it's up to you if you want to use that. Alright, so once they're on, double check to make sure the bottom is on, that pin, security pin, whatever you want to call it, still attached. And the top, they're also bolted in. Same thing with the other side. All good. So now, carefully, we can remove whatever you're using to support it. And it's holding, so that's good. Ooh, much better. So they do recommend that you just cycle it a couple times, make sure it works. Yeah, it definitely goes up quicker than it was before. Yep, much quicker. I like it. It feels smooth. Well, that's all there is to it. Compared to the other repairs I've done on this car, this is definitely one of the most easier of ones to do, and only takes a few basic hand tools and not a lot of time.